Hello, Mr. Grant Barzdo.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
How are
You're
you doing?
welcome. Where are you? Where are you at the moment?
I'm in the UK. I'm in a little town called Seaford.
Okay, good. And are you at home? You're at home now, right?
Yeah, I'm home now.
And how is isolation for you?
It's getting a little bit boring, but needs must. It's all right.
Needs must.
Needs must.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
welcome to the first ever podcast on the Stan Solo channel or the Stan Solo show. So welcome. You are the first guest. Do you feel privileged?
I feel very privileged.
That's
I feel
awesome.
like, very privileged.
Well, welcome. You know, in a few months' time or a few years' time, when I've got I was going to say Hugh Hefner on the show, but he's dead, isn't he? So I'm not going to have him.
Yeah, probably not.
Somebody
Maybe one of the
else.
bunnies.
Yeah, you can be like, well, I was the first. Or it could all go downhill after this, and nothing happens. So, well, welcome to the show, Mr. Grant Barzdo. Firstly, I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may, about coronavirus, COVID-19, the big corona. First off, can you tell me what is your title or your role in the NHS?
So my title is a paramedic practitioner. I work in a GP surgery, doing visits and clinics, and I'm currently doing a advanced clinical practice masters. And
Awesome.
that's my role.
And how long have you been working in the NHS for? In some capacity.
About 10 years now. 10 years,
Okay.
yeah.
And you started as a paramedic, is that right?
I started as a paramedic here. I worked in Portsmouth, different ambulance service, and then I worked as a paramedic in different stations, worked my way up to paramedic practitioner, did an extra degree, and then I've been in general practice about 2.5, 3 years now.
Okay. And so with the COVID corona, we'll get onto that, what we should call it in a minute. With that happening at the moment, so how often are you dealing with this on a daily kind of basis?
Daily basis, every day, whether it's doing phone calls to patients or whether it's advanced care planning, calling, speaking to the patients if they were to contract the coronavirus, or if they want to go to hospital, what their views are. I still undertake a few home visits here and there. I see mostly patients in nursing and residential homes, and we make a decision whether we're going to send them to hospital or whether we're going to try and treat them at home.
Is that, what did you say, planning?
Advanced care planning.
Advanced care planning.
What advanced care planning? So if they were to become unwell, whether it's coronavirus or something else, whether they'd still want to go to hospital, whether they'd want to be made comfortable at home.
Oh, so that's like end of life care.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get on to, firstly, I need to know basically what I should call it, because you see on TV and on the news and everything that people are calling it coronavirus or corona or COVID-19. What should I be calling it?
Well, you can call it whatever you like, but what's
the official name for it?
So the virus is called SARS-CoV-2. So that stands for, not calling it that. So it's severe acute respiratory syndrome, and that's so COVID is the coronavirus, and then 2 because it's a novel one, and that causes COVID-19. That causes the disease of COVID-19. So the coronavirus 19, because it was found in 2019.
Okay, so the 19 just means 2019.
Yeah, that's all it means. Okay. So it's the virus causes COVID-19. SARS-CoV-2 causes coronavirus 19.
And
so you catch the coronavirus. SARS. So you probably heard about it years ago as well.
Yeah.
SARS, that was caused. Yeah. So that's a severe acute respiratory syndrome.
So it's just a respiratory effect, a virus that affects your respiratory system. Is that correct?
Yeah. That mainly affects the respiratory system. Okay. It can obviously affect other areas. Breathing is the main issue. Is being able to breathe.
Okay. And is that different from MERS? What was MERS?
MERS is the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome, so that's MERS. Yeah, I don't know too much about it, but it's similar to that. But
Similar.
It's spread more easily. Corona is.
Corona spread more easily.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So what exactly is coronavirus then? What is it?
What is it? So a virus is different to a bacteria.
Yes.
A virus basically can't survive without a host cell, so it attacks your cells, and it will be contracted through your body. It can be it's done through droplets. It's not airborne as such. So coughs, sneezes, things like that goes into your body. And what the little virus does, the coronavirus, this tiny little spiky virus, and it will go down and it will go into your cells. Specifically, I think it's the ACE. So one of the protein binds into the cells, and it affects the cells, and then it spreads around the body.
Okay.
Yeah, destroying the cells essentially.
A droplet?
A droplet, yeah. So it's spread through droplets of bodily fluid, basically. So it's not airborne; it's in the droplets in the air. So it coughs, sneezes, things like that.
Can it survive away from the droplet? Like if you sneeze on a tissue, and that tissue, how long could it live on that tissue?
There's some varying evidence at the moment. Some people say 24 hours. Some people will say a couple of days. It depends really. I'm not.
But it can survive on that tissue for a while.
It can for a while.
Long enough to give it to somebody else.
Yeah. If you're going to pick it up and what.
So if you sneeze on tissue, you need to flush that.
Yes, you really do.
Or put it in the bin or something, right? Okay, and so has there been anything similar recently to Corona or COVID-19 that we remember in our lifetime? So, or let's say in the last 100 years, has there been anything that's been?
Well, there was obviously the plague, the bubonic plague.
Is that similar to this?
It's still a plague. It's still a virus that was going around. I don't know too much about it, but yeah, it's still.
There was a lot of boils and things under the armpits.
There was a lot of boils, yes. But any kind of virus can cause like a pandemic or epidemic. I mean, like you were talking about MERS or SARS or the Spanish flu, things like that. I mean, even measles. That's starting to spread. Come back now.
It started to come back.
Or mumps. Yeah.
And why has it started to come back? What, measles? You mean like measles that we had the jab for at school?
Yes,
like
yes.
Standard measles. Why is it coming back?
Because of the anti-vaccine groups. And so you're having, cluster people not having the jabs, and people that can't have them because of lowered immune systems or they're not old enough and things like that. So the measles are starting to come back. There's little clusters in America, and I think there's been a few.
I did see on the news yesterday something about measles. There's a resurgence of measles, but because I've had my jab at school, I'm probably not going to get it. Is that right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that COVID is making it come back. That's what I mean.
Oh no, it's nothing to do with COVID.
Okay, no. It's just coming back as a disease on the whole.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And how is it transmitted? How is the corona transmitted?
Yeah, so like I was saying, it's droplets, so water droplets from the body, bodily fluids, coughs and sneezes and things like that. So if you're around someone and they're breathing and coughing on you, you can pick it up from surfaces, things like that. It's transmitted. It goes in through your lungs and you breathe it in. It's a bit the receptors in the body that pick up the coronavirus are a bit lower down in the body, so they're going to affect your lungs worse than say a common cold.
Okay. So the reason I asked that question is because the social distancing we've been asked to do, I was under the impression it's because you just, if you're apart,
just
6 meters, 2 meters, sorry, is that right? Yeah, 2 meters, 6 feet.
Yeah.
It's not about touching other people. It's more to do with them coughing and breathing on you. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's a respiratory disease, like we were saying, and it spreads
Okay.
through droplets.
So if somebody touches you on the shoulder and then you touch your shoulder and touch your face, can you get it that way?
If
Possibly.
they say they've been wiping their mouth or their nose or something like that,
Okay.
but yeah, it can still be
So it is possible.
spread. It's possible. It's possible.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good. Let's have a look at some of the symptoms. So I think I've seen on the news, mostly we know the symptoms are dry cough, and from what I understand, it's like a dry cough and a fever, like a temperature.
Yeah,
Are there any
main
other?
two.
They're the main two, right? So are there
They're
any
the
other
main two.
symptoms that? Because
So
obviously, common cold or something like that, you get like a runny nose. Is that a symptom or?
yeah, I mean you're still gonna get similar symptoms to when you get a common cold, runny nose, just feeling generally unwell, aches and pains. So a virus is in your body, and it'll cause you to feel, we call it malaise, or just feeling really fatigued and tired. They're saying now you're getting anosmia, which is where you can't smell or taste anything. So you're going to not be able to smell, not be able to taste, just really fatigued. Coughs, colds, and it can.
So when a virus causes you aches and pains, like a lot of people I've seen on the TV were complaining about aches like backache, neck ache, things like that. How does a virus cause backache? Because is that not muscular, or is it?
Yeah, well, yeah, you can obviously get muscular backache from, pulling a muscle, tearing a muscle, or something like that. But then it's generally just the immune system fighting off, and it just causes you to have aches, pains, malaise, just feeling really under the weather.
Is that inflammation of the muscles or something, or is it?
Yeah, I think I don't know the exact physiology of it, unfortunately. But it's one of the effects of a virus and cause you to feel tired. And I think it's probably the immune system just trying to fight it off.
And fatigue, right? Makes you just so tired.
Fatigue. It can also,
Yes, sorry, yeah, continue.
I was going to say, yeah, it can cause vomiting, and there has been some gastric symptoms as well, like diarrhea and things.
Oh, okay. So it does cause vomiting and diarrhea. Okay, I didn't know that.
It can do.
It can in some cases.
It can, yeah.
And who are the most vulnerable currently, do you think? I remember, when it first came out, they were like, "Oh, don't worry, if you're not sort of over 60, over 70, you're not going to get it, or you're going to get you're going to get mild symptoms." But there does seem to be quite a lot of younger people dying, and whether or not they've got underlying health issues, I don't know, because obviously I'm guessing a lot of these people on TV as well, they're not allowed to release their underlying health issues a lot of the time. Maybe because it's a medical. When they say that somebody's in their 30s or in their 20s and they died, they're probably not allowed to divulge their medical history, I'm guessing, sometimes. But then the family can come out and say they didn't have any underlying health issues. Yeah. So who are the most vulnerable people?
So I'd say that, like you were saying, people with underlying medical conditions, I think definitely older people, people 70s, 80s with things like COPD, like respiratory conditions, emphysema, and chronic bronchitis, asthma, because it's going to be affecting your lungs. That I think they're probably the most vulnerable patients, and anyone that's had any kind of heart condition or anything like that, it's going to start affecting them as well. It's difficult to say why it's affecting younger people. Maybe, like you're saying, they have underlying medical issues that we aren't aware of.
Yeah, I thought that when I see them on the TV and they say a 30-year-old's died and a 20-year-old's died, or there was a kid of 13, and with medical issues, from what I understand, I don't know, but from what I understand, like, you can't just let people know people's medical history. So they might not have had a stroke, or they might not have had a heart attack or cancer or something like that, but they may have some things that have been wrong with them. And unless the family tell us or want to tell us, because it's not really our business,
No.
We don't really know. I mean, I guess the medical profession will know, so that they can judge who's going to get it or everything. But
yeah, I think obviously, like you're saying, there's a problem with confidentiality and consent. If we're told about them, and they could have underlying conditions that they weren't aware of as well. They could have had asthma and they didn't know about it. They could have some kind of autoimmune condition where they've got lower, white blood cells, so they're unable to fight off viruses and things like that. But they're not aware of them yet. It might be just something undiagnosed as well. Or different conditions, different viruses affect different people in different ways. There's no way of knowing how it's going to.
And it doesn't seem
someone.
to be at the moment. It doesn't seem to be affecting like infants or younger. You'd think that a virus, because an infant hasn't built up immunity yet, but we don't see a lot of really young children being that affected. Is that something that's true, or is that?
It's something that I've definitely heard. I don't know why at the moment. It's definitely something that I've heard. That children aren't getting affected, and if they are, they've got just very mild symptoms in general.
Yeah.
Just they'd cough, cold, maybe a bit of a temperature, a bit sniffly and under the weather. But I think they're responding very well to it, and yeah, they all seem to be recovering.
All right, good. So I'm trying to get my head around some of the terminology and. Because the government comes on the TV, or the people that are in charge, like Boris Johnson before he got sick, or Dominic Raab, all these people, and they're using like a lot of words that most people don't know what they actually really mean. So the first one that they came out with was herd immunity. And they were saying, oh, herd immunity. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, herd immunity. But I don't think many people really knew what it meant. And from my understanding, that's when so many people get the disease that it then most people are immune to it. So then it can't keep spreading because people are immune. So then it dies. Is that?
Yeah. In a way,
right?
in a way, that's right. So herd immunity is when someone is protected from a virus, whether it be measles, mumps, rubella, whatever. If you've had the vaccination or you've had the disease and got the correct antibodies in your body to fight it off.
Yeah.
So herd immunity is when the herd is all immune to whatever disease it is. So the more people that are vaccinated, or the more people that have had the disease won't be carriers as such. They won't be spreading it around. So it's not.
And then in time, I guess, if a large enough percentage of people are immune, then it can't be spread as quickly. So it will eventually die off. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the idea with it. And the herd immunity is also good for people that can't get inoculations for any reason, whether it's low immune system because they're on chemo, or they're too young, or they're allergic to vaccines, or whatever. The herd immunity will keep these people safe as well.
And so originally they thought that herd immunity was the best way forward. It turned out that they didn't choose that option for whatever reason. They decided that lockdown was the way they were going to go. Is that what would you feel about herd immunity versus lockdown? What they've done? Do you think they've?
Well, I don't. Well, I think eventually we're going to try and go for herd immunity. If the vaccine is developed, then you'll hopefully be immune to it. And I think it's difficult now because I think there have been a few cases where people have got coronavirus a couple of times. They've recovered and then they've been tested positive again from it.
Oh, they have had it more than once.
Yeah, there's only been a couple of cases that I've heard. So just because you've had it doesn't mean you won't get it again. I think it depends on the body's response to it. I think if they can develop the correct antibodies to fight it off.
Okay.
So I think initially as well, the lockdown is kind of also just so the hospitals can manage with the amount of cases that are coming in and out. Because, like we were saying, obviously, if it gets to the stage where they need to be on a ventilator, they have to be on a ventilator for a long time. So it's kind of managing the amount of people that go into the hospital. So it's not a kind of herd immunity versus lockdown. It's kind of just trying to manage the amount of cases that there are, and hopefully
I'd imagine as well,
lockdown.
like if you obviously you have been a paramedic in the past, like the paramedic's job at the moment there must be a lot less like road traffic accidents and things like that because people just aren't around, right? So there must be. Have you seen? Has there been a decline in other illnesses or other
I
things you've had
can't
to deal
really
with?
say from being on the road. I don't know. I think when I speak to a few of them that I know, they're still going to lots of whatever they normally go to. But from working in general practice, people aren't coming and seeing us as often, and they're just managing their own symptoms and not having to see us for every little thing that's wrong with them. And
Okay.
I think they've realised that they can actually manage on their own.
Yeah. But
so
I'd imagine like if you go to the big cities and things like paramedics have notoriously been busy dealing with things like drunkenness and fights. Friday, Saturday nights and stuff like that, right? A lot of that must have disappeared. So that's good in a way.
Yeah, that's definitely.
But then
good.
you probably do get a lot more things. Maybe you get a lot more things like they did say that domestic violence and stuff like that would be increasing because of the fact that people are just locked down. But I guess that's the police more than the paramedics.
You get as a paramedic, you go to domestic violence sometimes. Anyway, you go to a bit of everything, but
there must be a lot less sort of drunk and disorderlies that they have to go to, which is probably quite nice for them. They don't have to deal with like just people being drunk and after a Friday and Saturday night and demanding attention and stuff like that, which must be quite nice. Okay, so we're going to have a quick chat about face masks because out here where I live in Thailand, it is now mandatory for people to wear face masks outside at all times. I went to Tesco to get my shopping today, and outside the Tesco's, before they let you in the door, you have to go through a hand washing process, and you have to have a mask on, and then you have to put the alcohol gel on your hands, and then they take your temperature, and if that's all okay, and as long as you're wearing a mask, you're allowed into the shop. Which is it takes a bit of time, but it's worth it, right? Whatever. So face masks, are they helpful or are they not helpful? I'd imagine they probably are, just on the off chance that you sneeze or cough because you are covered. I can't see how it would be a negative thing, but are they as good as they're sort of made out to be, or is that just does it depend on the type of face mask?
So the virus, it depends on the type of face mask, but I mean this mask that you're wearing and everyone's got to wear, is that the same mask that's been worn every time? Is it the one you take out every time you go out? Is that one mask?
For me, I've got a it's sort of made of like a cotton material, but it is washable, so I can wash it. I haven't done when I keep my car because I don't go out, because at the moment, like I just don't go out. I go to Tesco, and I'm presuming it's more of a stop spreading than getting it. So if I had it, the mask would stop me coughing on other people rather than it being filtered when I'm breathing in. Because you need probably some to do that. It's more like I'm not spreading it myself. So if I cough in the shop or if I sneeze in the shop, it goes into the mask. Rather than
it's very true.
The other way around, where if I'm not breathing things in.
I think the problem with masks and things, people wearing PPE and things like that, is not knowing how to use them properly and dispose of them. When I wear a mask, I wear it for about 20 minutes, then it goes straight in the bin. And the masks that we've got are surgical masks. and they're not great at stopping coronavirus anyway. They'll still let the pause in. And I think cotton masks aren't really going to do too much to help, but it might help, like you said, stopping the spread of some. But
yeah, I mean, in my
if
opinion,
you're taking it off and touching it, and then it's all kind of.
well, my mask stays
I
in the
don't
car.
see the point. Yeah.
Stays in the car, and when I go to the shop, I put it on before I get out the car, and then I go to the shop, and then I come back in the car, and then I take it off in the car, because when I'm in the car, I'm going home, right? I'm not seeing anybody. So, and it's quite a thick cotton thing. Like it's a washable. It's not a disposable mask. It's a washable mask you can use over and over again, whatever. But from what I understood beforehand, like it's more about stopping me spreading something if I had it, rather than, because living in Asia, like they're used all the time, all the way through the year. If you ever see somebody on the tube or on the bus or something here, or walking around, even in the shops, you see masks all the time, because if people have a cold here, they put a mask on so that they don't give their cold to somebody else. That's the culture is a bit different. But I always thought that it was rather to help not spread it rather than actually filtering out coronavirus. Because I was thinking, like, it can go in your eyes, right? It can go in your whatever. So
yeah, true, it can. I don't know. I think wearing a mask, it won't be as helpful. And I think, like I said, I think the problem is that people are wearing masks over and over again and touching it and touching the mask, and whether you've cleaned your hands and then you've moved it and touched it, you've still got this mask that you've been using over and over again. I wouldn't wear a mask again. And if you touch the underside, yeah. And like it depends. And the only masks that are effective, as far as I understand, is I think I can't remember what it stands for, FFP3 or something. It gets a good seal around your face. So I wouldn't have a very good one because I've got a beard.
You've got a beard. Yeah.
I've got a beard.
And where do you get those from? Are they government issue? Are they the NHS masks? Or?
Yeah, they have to be fitted properly.
So they're proper,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't. We don't have them we don't have them in our surgery.
Okay.
I think they're quite hard. Yeah. I don't know really about masks. I don't think they're that much of a benefit. They can be if worn correctly and used correctly. Okay. But I'm not an epidemiologist, so.
Yeah. All right. Difficult. Well, fair enough. Let's move on to a little bit of mental health. Being in isolation, for me, I am a person that enjoys a lot of my own company. So I'm very, very happy being on my own or being by myself. I don't, in everyday life when we're allowed out and stuff, right? I don't find it that difficult if I'm alone for a long period of time. But even this, for me, I've found myself having like a little bit of cabin fever almost, like when you just, you can't go anywhere. So even for me, somebody who doesn't mind spending a lot of time on their own, I have been getting like a little bit tetchy and finding myself becoming a little bit more easily annoyed or something like that, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a problem, because it's going to be over soon, whatever, and we can go back to normality. But for people that have mental health issues, I'm guessing that self-isolation, especially if they're living alone, is probably not a great thing. So have you experienced anything like that? And what can you do what can we do to prevent that becoming an issue in our lives?
Yeah, difficult one. I still have some patients that I call every so often, and we've had probably more people ringing up about their mental health because they haven't been able to go and see their counsellors or go and see their mental health teams that they've been normally seeing. Like you said, being isolated, not being able to see people, it can have an effect on your mental health. And unfortunately, there's not too much we can do on our side apart from that. There's a lot of websites, that are trying to specialise in coronavirus, isolation as well, that we signpost people to.
Well,
Which
you can give
I've
me
been
those
told they're
links,
quite helpful.
and I'll put them in the description to the video. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put them in the link. For the podcast, I'm not sure how I'm going to attach that, but for the YouTube video, I will put them. I'll get their links on the. I'll put them in the link to the video underneath.
Yeah. I mean, that's all we can really do, and just trying to reach out to your friends and family. If you can, FaceTiming or online chatting, trying to just go about your normal day-to-day business. But the thing is, some people are going to come out with extra skills and being able to do this and that, or they've trained a lot, but on the other side, if you just don't want to and you want to take this time to relax and unwind, that's absolutely fine as well. You don't have to be productive if you don't want to be.
Have you learnt any new skills in isolation, Grant?
No, I don't think I have. No,
nothing new.
Nothing new. Podcast. There you go. It's my first ever podcast chat.
It's your first ever podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's my first ever one. I've been on a few, but I haven't done one myself. So this is something I'm learning how to do. So I have been on a few as a guest, but I haven't. Hopefully this goes well. So yeah. Okay. All right. So I will get those links after. I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you to give me those websites now, but I'll definitely have a look at those. Are they government run or are they privately?
A bit of both, really.
Bit of both. Okay.
Bit of both.
Well, I'll put those
a lot of them are government run.
Moving on to a vaccination, because that's been in the news quite recently. I heard today. What did I hear today? Something about. I know the news I hear is not kind of. It's just the news that most people hear, right? So you hear different things all the time. But I heard that they're going to ask over 60s or over 70s to sort of try and stay in until the vaccination is close. So it could be a year. Do you think a vaccine will eventually be developed for this?
I know they're working on it. I couldn't tell you how close they are. I think it will probably be at least a year.
At least,
hopefully sooner. Yeah, personally, the thing is with vaccines, they take a long time because they need to be proven to be safe and effective. You can work in a lab and you can say, right, I've destroyed this virus with this, but it's a lot different working in a lab than it is doing it on humans, and you've got to, as well as all the lab work and then different trials and safety and efficacy and the different stages, and getting through any medication takes a long time. Some medications take up to 4 or 5 years to be safe and effective enough to be allowed to be used. So it's a difficult process getting it through, but we want to make sure it's safe before we're giving it to anyone, really. I don't know, It's frustrating, but it's just something that needs to be done.
Did they? So the big diseases that I remember, I remember the big diseases, but the epidemics or the pandemics, whatever. I remember whether they were epidemics or pandemics, I'm not sure, but things like Ebola, SARS, MERS. Did they end up vaccinating for those, or did they not? Do you know if there's a vaccine? I don't think Ebola's got a vaccine, has it?
I don't know, actually. I didn't really have much to do with them, so unfortunately, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll have a look at that. I think that's probably something I can look at on my own. Because I'm not sure. I don't think because I definitely haven't had. The only vaccines I've had recently myself were a tetanus shot. In case I step on a rusty nail or something.
Yeah, don't want to do that.
And also flu, I think. Like just a common flu.
Yes.
But I don't think I've had any vaccines other than that. So I didn't even know if they were something the government was giving. Are the government now giving vaccines to anybody that you know of? If you rang up and said, I'd like a vaccination, please, what would they give you?
You have to be. It depends really. So you've got the childhood. Yeah, you've got the childhood vaccination schedules. You've got, so for example, flu. the flu vaccine, it's generally over 65s, and they have a different type, and then you give it to people that are in high risk categories, things like asthma and immune for the people under, I think somebody under 65 is another one, but you've got to be in a high risk category to have it. And then the children have it as well up to a certain age. And I think
children, I understand they have that, like, my daughter's on a schedule. You sort of on there every other month, almost.
Yeah,
because obviously you have to do it slowly because their body is not as equipped.
Yeah, that's it. Definitely. And then if you're traveling, the way we do it, or one of our practice nurses, they ring up, and then we've just got a set vaccines that are given for each country depending on where they're going.
Okay. Another question just on vaccines quickly. So I always, I know in England, having grown up in England, everybody has the BCG at school, and it gives you the scar. It's the one that gives you the scar on your arm.
Yeah.
I don't think I know what the BCG is. Could you let me know what it is?
BCG.
Do you remember? BCG is the one that gives you the scar on the arm, right? I mean,
I think I've probably still got the scar. Probably.
I've still got my scar. Yeah.
I don't know what was in the BCG.
You don't know? I'm not sure.
No.
BCG.
No, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
I should know, really, shouldn't I?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'd imagine it's one of those things where it's like, it's given to. It's one of those things where it's schools, isn't it? I mean, I remember having BCG. Let me have a look at
tuberculosis, BCG. Probably.
What BCG? What is it? That's the question. Oh goodness me.
Oh, there you go.
Bacillus calmette guerin vaccine.
Oh, okay.
It is tuberculosis. You're right. It is tuberculosis. Yes, tuberculosis. It just gives you a nasty scar for some reason. I always remember being at school and everyone being scared of the BCG. But it's literally an injection, isn't it? It's like
Yeah. I remember queuing up for it.
And you have to have a pre-BCG, don't you? You have that weird, like, 10 needle ring that I think they put on your wrist.
Check for allergies, isn't it, or sensitivities? I think.
Is it?
I remember that there was
I remember they came round and there was like a pre-BCG, and it was like a ring thing, and everyone was like, because if something happens, like, you don't need a BCG, right? Or if something doesn't happen or something, right? So everyone was like, "Oh, I hope it's me. I hope I'm the one." And like nobody, everybody has to have it. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at the next question that I've got down here. So, this one's a bit. I don't know if you can answer it really, but it's how long before we can go out? How long before we can go out again? And what will the likely scenario be? So that obviously, I'm guessing they're not going to just open the doors wide and go, right, everybody out. See you later. Pubs are open. Go out, have a party, because people will go mental. People will just go nuts.
It'll be a steady increment. They've got. They're talking about flattening the curve, aren't they? But the thing is, even if the curve starts to flatten, and everyone goes, right, you can go out, that's kind of like just saying, oh well, the parachute's working, we'll just cut the strings. It does still need to be a slow process, and it will be, I'm guessing, they'll let children go back to schools probably first, because that's quite important. And then it will just be a slow increase, I think, of letting people go out, maybe opening smaller businesses, shops and things. And I'm guessing probably pubs will be the last thing to, unfortunately, be opened again.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, schools is a funny one because children don't seem to be affected as much as other people, but they can still carry it, I believe. So, like,
yes,
if you let your children go to school, it's probably not a good idea to let your grandma pick them up.
Yeah, I think it's about being sensible, isn't it? Really,
it's about being sensible.
Yeah.
Any kind of time frame you can give me? I'm not going to hold you down to a definite date,
I don't know. In the UK, they're thinking about another 3 weeks, aren't they? But it depends until they maybe start the slow process of
Yes.
letting people out. I don't know, unfortunately, about any other countries.
All right.
Unfortunately.
So should we have a guess of a date, and whoever's nearest wins
Okay.
the tenner?
Okay.
So what's the criteria though? That's the
until
criteria.
that's what I was going to say. What, until full unleash?
Until full unleash. Until like, well, no, I don't know about that because like
Until the pub opens.
until pubs are open. Yeah, that's a good
Until
one.
the
Until
White
pubs
Lion
are
is
open.
open again.
Until the White Lion in Seaford, great pub. Until that, yeah, until the Lion is open, because we can judge it then, because there's no debate about it then. So there's a pub in
Okay.
Seaford, the White Lion, great pub. I used to work there. Did you ever
Yeah.
work there?
No, never worked there.
You didn't.
No, I frequented it a lot though. So
Frequented a lot, yeah. So until that pub is open, like that, because there's going to be a date, isn't it? Right.
I'm
Write it
going to
down.
look at my. I've got a week off in June, and I'm going to go for that week.
It's not going to be in.
15th of
It's not going to be
June.
open in June, is it?
15th,
Well, I'm going to
I
go.
don't know. 15th of June. That's the week that I'm off. I'm going to go for that weekend. So 20th of June, I'm going.
You're going 20th of June. I'm going pubs, right?
It's
Pubs.
probably a bit soon, but I'm doing it anyway.
I'm going the 1st of July.
Yeah. Okay. So 20th of
1st
June,
of July.
1st of July.
So whoever's closest wins what? What do they win? Wins the competition. Wins the competition. We'll figure out a prize anyway, but that is the date. Let's say
Okay.
yeah, or a forfeit. We'll do a forfeit. So
Okay,
whoever's closest has to put an egg on their head, crack an egg on their head. Whoever's the loser online on a phone call just cracks an egg on their head. Is that fair enough?
Okay. Yeah.
So whoever's the loser. So what did I say? 1st of July.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's do that then. So if I lose, if you win, I have to crack an egg on my head. And if I win, you have to crack an egg on your head, and we'll put it online.
Okay.
So from a medical point of view, or from a NHS point of view, I guess more than anything, what can we learn from this virus? What from the lockdown, from the way that we've dealt with it? What can we learn from this virus?
What can we learn from it? I think what the main thing from an NHS side is that people can actually handle some of their medical problems without having to go to A&E, without having to go to the doctors more often. The A&Es are a lot quieter than they have been ever, and they're only going in the case of an emergency as what they should be going. So I think that's definitely a big benefit, is that people can actually handle things without having to go and get checked by someone, which is definitely a positive. Can learn how to use, a number of online websites, to chat to your friends. Definitely done that. Yeah, Pornhub.
That's taken a beating, I imagine.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Okay, what about the government? What can the government learn from this?
What can the government learn? I don't think I'm in a place to kind of answer that really, without seeing all the statistics really, and whether they've said that we've locked down too late, whether we did, whether we wanted to get a certain amount of people with it.
So we're going to learn more basically once it's over, and we can take a step back and think like, okay, this is what we should do differently next time, or hopefully they should. But there probably will. The odds are there will be a next time, but it might not be for a while.
Yeah, I think Trump's probably learned that he shouldn't have fired his pandemic leader to save money.
Is that what he did? I don't know.
Apparently, yeah. A while ago, they got rid of the epidemiology.
Oh, before it happened. You mean?
Yeah, just before it happened, I think.
Okay.
Because he didn't think he needed it.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. He probably does. Who's our pandemic lead? Is it that guy Whitty? Is his name Whitty? What's his name?
I don't know.
The guy on TV. I watch him. He's the bald guy. Whitty. I think his name's Whitty.
Oh, is it? I'm not
Peter
sure.
Whitty. Is his name Peter Whitty?
I
Peter Whitty, I think his name is. He's on the TV every night. I think he's the head of. I don't even know if his name's Peter, if I'm honest. Witty bloke. I know Witty's because that's good. Witty man. TV.
Witty man. You're just looking up Witty man.
I can't remember. There you go. This guy. What did I say his name was? Chris Whitty. That's it. Not Peter Whittle. Chris Whitty. Yeah. Chris Whitty. He's like the head of.
He's the chief medical officer.
Yeah,
he's chief medical officer. Yeah.
But he's like our equivalent of the guy that Trump sacked. I'm guessing. Is he?
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. They definitely have different people.
But he seems to know what he's talking about. And people have slated Boris Johnson for not, obviously before he got sick. Like when he went on TV and there was him in the middle, and then there was Whitty on the left, and then there was some other guy, I can't remember the other guy's name, on the right. And people were like, why isn't Boris answering the questions? And I was like, well, because you've got the chief medical advisor here. Otherwise, he'll just be standing there going, you might as well just ask me these questions because Boris is probably more interested in.
Where he gets his advice from. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Boris isn't a scientist. He's not a doctor. He's taking advice, isn't he?
He's taking advice.
Well, that's pretty much his whole job, isn't it? His whole job is to take advice to tell people. He doesn't really make. Yeah, that's his job. Take advice and tell people generally.
Tell people, yeah. Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up pretty soon. I've just got one last thing we've got to do. I found this picture earlier. It was on the weight on Instagram. It was on the Weight Watchers Instagram, which is weird. I don't know how I found it. I'm probably must be a member of their thing. Anyway, it's called Which COVID-19 Character Are You? So are you ready to play this game, Grant?
I'm ready.
Which COVID-19 character are you? We have 6 characters here. I'm guessing they are just. Oh no, I'm trying to press it, but I've taken a picture of it. So these are the 6 types of people who are around during the COVID-19 crisis or pandemic. And which one would you most closely relate to? So the first one is called Netflix Nancy. Nancy's a lady's name, obviously.
It is.
But you could call it Netflix Nigel, I guess, for you.
Yeah, that could be Nigel.
Regular streaming service binger and can recommend at least 5 programs, complete with synopsis. So, is that you? Next one, Meme Michael. So, shares memes to keep the conversation light-hearted and spread a little joy. Next one is Anxious Annie, or for a man, we could say Anxious Andrew. Mm-hmm. Feels overwhelmed and shuts themselves off from the news to preserve mental health. The next one we have is Fact Finder Fred. Watches the news, reads the news, tells you the news on repeat. So that's Fact Finder Fred. I guess there's probably a lot of those. Next one we have is Social Sally. The only person with a packed calendar, dates, pub quiz, night out. They've gone virtual because they're not missing out. So a lot of the people have had like online parties and online dates, things like that, right? Across social media on Zoom and house party, things like that. And the last one, Positive Paul. So Positive Paul finds the positives during this time, such as taking time for himself and finishing projects he could not before. A great person to catch up with for a pick-me-up. So Netflix Nancy, Meme Michael, Anxious Annie, Fact Finder Fred, Social Sally, or Positive Paul. Which one would you relate to the most?
I think I can definitely say that I have been each one of them over the last month or so.
Oh,
so
you're a little bit of each.
A bit of each, maybe dabble in them all day, if you could call me.
Or what? Sorry.
Dabble in them all, Dave.
Dabble in them all, Dave. Yeah.
So I've
Melting pot.
I think I've done.
Melting pot.
I've done
Michael.
Melting pot, Michael. I've definitely done all of them, I think.
Oh, okay. Even Anxious Annie.
Yeah, sometimes, a little bit anxious. Sometimes turn TV off. Busy day at work. Yeah. Don't want to hear any more about it.
That's true. That is true. Sometimes you do get fed up with it. Okay, and I've being a humongous Star Wars fan, as you can see by the numerous Star Wars action figures behind me. I'm quite happy to hear that you have dabbled in episodes 1 to 6. Is that right?
I have.
When you say 1 to 6, do you mean in chronological order 1 to 6, or do you mean like you've watched 6 movies, like the first? In chronological order, I started. Did you started 1 and then went to 6?
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I just went 1 to 6. Yeah.
So 1 to 3 are the prequels, right?
They are, yes.
And then you've got the 4, 5, 6, which are the originals, the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Which do you prefer? Because I'll tell you afterwards actually why. Because we have 4, 5, and 6, which is the original trilogy, and then we have the prequel trilogy 2, 3.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Have you seen the sequel trilogy 7, 8, and 9 at all?
No.
All right, so we'll do this one, and then maybe after.
They're even newer, aren't they? Those ones.
Yeah, the first one came out probably not the first one, but the Force Awakens probably came out 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, probably 5 years ago, I think. Anyway, and the last and the Rise of Skywalker, which was the latest one, came out in last December. So if you haven't seen those, I won't ask you about those. But what do you prefer, the prequels, the 1, 2, 3, or the original trilogy, which is the 4, 5, and 6? What would you say?
It's a difficult one. Yeah, the prequels now they're still like 20 odd years old now, aren't they?
Yeah, 99. I think 99.
Yeah.
99. The Phantom Menace came out. Yeah.
It's difficult. I preferred the effects and the prequels probably. I do find when older Jedi or Sith are fighting, it's quite funny.
Older as in, you mean Yoda old?
Oh, not Yoda old. No. As in, Obi-Wan when he's old and he's fighting. It's funny.
Oh, in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's not quite as actiony, is it? It's more story than action.
No, I like the stories.
So do you prefer the prequels or the original trilogy?
Oh, it's difficult to say. I think they've both got their merits. I haven't got a.
I'm gonna need an answer.
I'm guessing you're you're liking the original trilogy.
No, but I want to know from your opinion.
From my opinion, as a layman.
No, just as a layman, what would you say? I would say you're not a Star Wars uber fan, right? You haven't been for a long time. Like, so from point of view of someone who's just watched 1 to 3 and then 4 to 6, what would you think?
I probably prefer the prequels, actually.
Okay, but that's absolutely the answer I wanted to hear, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Because it's only been since the sequel trilogy 7, 8, and 9 have come out that the prequels have actually finally got a lot more recognition, because when they came out they got slated. Like, there was people like burning effigies of Jar Jar Binks and things like that, right? So it was not me, but so it's quite refreshing to hear somebody that's watched them almost for the first time and just enjoyed them as movies, rather than they get a lot of slack for being it was a difficult period, because it was that, sort of late 90s, early 2000s, so that the effects were good. They were better than they were in the sort of 70s and 80s, but if you look at them now, they are still a little bit like, whoa, I can't believe like there's most of the movie was shot on a green screen, right? There was no real live action stuff like that. But it's interesting to see. And so if you could tell me who your favorite Star Wars character is throughout the whole, you can do a top three. You can do a top three. You can do a top three. Who are your favorite Star Wars characters? Top three, starting with number 3.
Starting with I don't know really.
Or you can just give me any 3, the ones that you like the most.
I got to think about people now. I mean,
from the prequels and the original trilogy.
R2D2 is pretty chilled, isn't he?
Okay, yeah, solid choice, solid pick.
R2D2, yeah. I mean, because C3PO, he gets a little bit annoying after a bit of time. He gives R2D2 some shit, but he doesn't deserve it. He does. So I'm on R2D2 side for that.
Solid start. Solid choice.
Thanks.
Solid choice.
Thank you. Who else is pretty good? Qui-Gon Jinn was a bit of a rogue, wasn't he?
Excellent choice for Qui-Gon.
Thanks.
Excellent.
He was good.
Last one.
Bit of a rogue.
Yeah.
I'll say no. Leia was a bit annoying after a while.
Oh, that's controversial.
After a while, she was.
That Princess Leia.
Yeah.
That is a controversial statement. I'm not having that, Grant. But anyway.
I don't know. Jabba the Hutt's quite funny.
It's your number 1, Jabba the Hutt. R2D2 solid, Qui-Gon Jinn solid, Jabba the Hutt pretty solid, to be fair. Those 3 you've done yourself. You've done a good job there, Grant. Well done.
Thanks. I mean, I did like Windu quite a lot. He was quite good until he got killed.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Well, they did come out like
20 years ago.
Probably almost 20 years ago. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Grant, on this the first of the podcasts on the Stan Solo Show. Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to give some links out for social media or anything?
No, I think I'm all right. I'm just happy with today.
Happy with fun today.
It's been emotional.
It's been good, isn't it? Good.
Yeah, it's been emotional.
Okay, fair enough. We're going to wrap it up there then. Thanks so much for coming on, Grant, and I'm sure we'll chat again soon. We need to do a recap for the egg smashing one.
We do.
When we find out, so it's when the White Lion Seaford opens again. So keep out for that on the BBC News website. I'm sure it'll be there. All right, thank you very much, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching. See you later.
Cheerio.